Yeah, so a lot of people get global warming and climate change confused. They consider the two the same, and they're not the same. You know, climate change and global warming are two separate things. And not only that, a lot of people believe it as well. They actually believe it. They believe that global warming is a thing caused by something, and climate change is a thing caused by something. But it is caused by something, but not what we've been led to believe. So, Lucas, can you, Liz, Michael, firstly, do you know about climate change and global warming? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know they were separately.
Yeah. Did you like me think the two were the same? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like most people do, and it isn't true. They're two separate things. Lucas, can you talk about what climate change is and what global warming is separately?
Yeah, so a lot of the media and common misconception in the public is that they're very similar. So, and a lot of people use them interchangeably. So you can use climate change, or people use climate change when they mean global warming, and vice versa. But climate change is where climate's change. Is what it says on the tin. So, for example, if you look outside, like the UK climate, if it's suddenly become iced over, then that would be climate change. But that not necessarily has been through warming. So, global warming usually impacts climate change by climate's getting warmer and more humid. Transferring more to sort of like where the equator is, like deserts, stuff like that. But you can also have global warming where as well. So, for example, in the UK at the moment, it's a bit warmer than it was last year or the year before, but we haven't changed the climate. So I think there's 8 distinctive climates that the scientists have defined, and things will adapt. So ecosystems, environments will adapt to different temperatures. And only when you get a significant temperature increase will you have a climate change to something warmer. But you can also have climate change where it gets colder as well. So most of the time, global warming is climate change, but not all climate change is global warming, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Because the seasons change.
That's
climate change. Yeah. But global warming. All right. So how is it that people feel like the two are interlinked? What causes that confusion? Why do people think that?
Media. You'll see a lot in the news. They use global warming sounds a lot more deadly than climate change. And they use the particular words when it fits the context really well. It might not necessarily be true, but they use the word that has the biggest impact on the public. But if you read into it, sometimes even the BBC and Sky News and stuff, they will use the words incorrectly, and only the real, like the people that understand that content and what they're writing about will be able to pick up on whether they've used it correctly or incorrectly. But they use the one that has the most impact on the general public.
Yeah. Because the general public, let's get it right. Like most people don't have time to really investigate what they're hearing. They'll just take it for immediate. You could be on like any platform, and especially social media is probably the worst. People will post anything, and most people will believe it. If it sounds convincing enough, people will just be like, "Oh, it's got to be true," or they only hear what they want to hear. You get what I mean? So let's say you're seeking a justification, and then you find something that justifies it, that solidifies your belief. So it's like, yeah, because I heard it and it makes sense to me, I'll go with it. Do you get what I mean? And it's also triggering because, a lot of people like myself, I went vegan for 3 reasons. One was health, obviously, massive benefits to going vegan for your health. And then there's also the impact on animal welfare, it's cruelty and all that sort of stuff. And then there's also what most people would say, it's having the most impact on global warming and therefore creating climate change, which isn't true. That third one, that isn't true. So, how have so many vegans been told this bullshit and believed it? And I'll put my hands up and say, guilty. I believed all 3. Now I know one not to be true. Still not going to change why. I'm not going to change who I am and what I am, because I am what I am. But that third one, it doesn't compute. It's not real. So can you go into detail, Lucas, about why that is?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a long story behind it, but start off with, so my research is based around investigating this through a computational model. So the whole purpose behind this was to try and investigate what impact humans have on climate change and global warming through a process. Well, there was a lot of assumptions put into the model that was based around methane hydrates. So this sort of methane is like the most deadly gas that's released into the atmosphere, and it's from natural sources, but also anthropogenic sources, which just means from humans. And this methane gas as it gets released has impacted very little by sort of human interference. So my model simulated the release of methane hydrates, and the release rate of these hydrates were not affected at all by anything that humans do. So I hate to break it to people that have been vegan and try to impact it by having electric cars. Electric cars are a different topic because you've got a whole history behind them and stuff, but they don't necessarily have as big an impact as what we've been told. They will still have an impact, but it's not as drastic as what people have been led to believe.
So in a nutshell, what you're saying is, Michael, do me a favor, go on my TikTok and just block this troll. Yeah, so what you're saying is humans don't have a bigger impact on global warming as we've been led to believe. So even people like trying to do their bit by stop leaving a carbon footprint or that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's natural sources that we have no control over, and they contribute for around 75 to 80% of the methane that gets released into the atmosphere. So there is a small percentage that is affected by us humans, but the majority of it is a natural process that has very little effect. So there is a side where we do have an impact, but it's insignificant in like a global picture. So for example, to give context, the one person that's decided to go vegan to save sort of the climate and take back their methane emissions probably isn't going to have that much of an impact or as much as they believe to have in the bigger picture.
If the whole world went vegan to try and minimize the methane release of obviously mass-produced animals farting gas, it still wouldn't change.
Yeah,
it wouldn't change. It wouldn't have that bigger impact. So just for those tuning in right now, we are the Elite Thinking Club. I'm Chris, Jules, Julien. I'm joined tonight by my co-hosts Liz and Michael. You right, guys?
Yay.
Happy days. And we have a special guest on the show, Lucas Houchen. Right, Lucas?
Yeah.
Been on previous episodes with us here at the Elite Thinking Club. He actually was one of the very first co-hosts on the Elite Thinking Club, but he actually had to go to uni. Yeah, so he had to go to uni, and whilst he's been at uni, Lucas has completed a master's degree in geophysics. All right, that's why he's on the show talking about this, because he's done it. He's actually done all of the work to have the proof and the social proof to say it. Do you know what I mean? So yes, Lucas. Nice.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. It's a nice feeling to sort of do a research project and try and push the boundaries of what we know as society. Hopefully it gets published, which is in the process. But yeah.
Oh, no doubt it will. I know that it will. So Lucas, what is geophysics, just quickly for the people?
So basically, in a nutshell, it is the maths behind how the world works. So the natural processes, it's the same as physical geography and maths combined. So how the physics, the numbers behind sort of volcanoes, earthquakes, all natural processes that happen on the planet, it's the maths behind that. And I tailored my degree towards computational modeling and data analysis. So analyzing the numbers, really crunching the numbers, getting to the bottom of it. And computational modeling, which is sort of a new thing that's come around recently. And I was the first person to create a two-phase flow model of methane in a subglacial environment. So the difference between like a computational model and an experimentational model, or I struggle to pronounce that one. The computational one is a simulation on a screen. So we run it really fast. You've probably seen a lot of them. Whereas the other one is you observe it in a box. So you'll create like a closed container and you sit there in real time and you write down what you see. So the technology now is able to create a computational model, but ideally you want them working in unison, because there's a lot of flaws with a computational model. My supervisor told me when I was preparing for my presentation, said all models are wrong, but some are useful, which really like resonated with me, because it's not 100% accurate. It is fairly accurate, but obviously there are limitations, because it's nearly impossible to put a global model on a computer, just because the power. Michael might be able to tell me a bit more about it, but I crashed the uni PCs thousands of times through the last year, which was very frustrating. And my final model took 6 hours to run to get one set of results. So I spent about 2 months just going into uni, clicking start, leaving, coming back 6 hours later, writing down the results, and then doing it again and again and again for like 2 months.
Sounds like a DOS.
Yeah, yeah, I wish.
Nah, good stuff, Lucas. That's what we love. That's how, someone out there does this. And funny enough, we've got him here on the show, which I love so much, because most people just get on with their days, and everyone's got jobs to do or got careers to pursue. And Lucas, there you are, right, dedicating years of your life to doing something that we need. Well, I say we. That's just going to have the biggest impact on our knowledge base. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't learn unless someone's willing to do the discovery phase, and you've done that, bro. You dug deep, and congratulations, Lucas, man. I'm really proud of you, man. Really proud of you. Right, so yeah, Liz, Michael, at any point during this year you have a question for Lucas, fire away, because what happened was, me and Lucas met up, and because he'd come back from uni, I was like, "You all right?" He goes, "Yeah, let's catch up." So we went for a catch up, and then out of like, I don't know, it just conversation flowed, didn't it, Lucas? And then you started saying, "Look, Jules, about climate change and global warming," and I was like, "Well, about it." Okay, so when you spoke about the ice caps, Lucas, there's a big thing going on. Like, most people believe that the ice caps are melting, and if the ice caps melt, a big tidal wave is going to come along, mash it all up, and we're all going to die. Now, this is something that I heard an investor say, and it weren't Warren Buffett, it was some other investor, but he's pretty well known. I forgot his name. So well known, I forgot his name. But basically, he got fired at by this lady, this Karen, in the stage. She just came at him with some bogusness about, yeah, but you're causing this you're a part of the problem, investing in all these companies that causing climate change and global warming. So basically, she was spieling off what she'd gathered as facts from media and whatnot, believed what she believed, everything we've already highlighted, and he just turned around and said, "Right, let's get something straight, woman, lady, yeah." And he proper just said it like really bluntly, because I think he was pissed off. He said, "I'm an investor, yeah, and banks are investors, right? Do you think it makes any logical sense at all for a bank to invest in something that's going to collapse in the next 20 years? Where's the logical sense in that?" And she was like, well, and he was like, "Look, it's my money that I invest. Do you think for 1 second I would invest my money in something that's going to collapse in 20 years? And she was like, no. And she just sort of stuttered, right? And that made me think, is global warming bullshit then?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's right. He's absolutely right. Banks would not invest in something that's going to fail. Doesn't make sense. Their mission is to make money. They invest money into people like Lucas to make more money, and so therefore, yeah. And he just sort of like shunned her, or stumped her, sorry. But Lucas, I want you to explain, if you can, why so many people believe that these ice caps melting is going to like create such a doomsday, when the truth is it won't, will it?
Not necessarily. They do have, I think this is going to be a common theme tonight, they do have a small impact, but it's not significant. So the model that I created had a big glacier, a big bit of ice on the top, and I changed the rate that it melted, and then saw the effects of sort of methane being released. And I thought this would have like a massive impact, because I was sold the same dream as well. Took the bite of the dangling carrot. I thought, oh yeah, the faster the glacier melts, the quicker the gases get released. Turns out that's not true. It literally has no impact whatsoever. So if all the glaciers disappeared tomorrow, the gas would be released at the same rate as today. And if all the glaciers, if they like started forming and freezing more, the gases would still get released at the same rate they do today. So
let's just slow it down, because I know you know what you're saying, but for people that are just hearing that, let's say that again. So yeah. If all the ice north and south melted, yeah, it doesn't matter the quantity of ice that melts, because the release of the gas that creates the global warming effect would still be released at the same rate.
Yeah, so the same amount per day or per hour would be released to if all the ice was there, or if none of the ice was there. It makes no difference on the amount of ice as to the natural gases being released from beneath the surface.
And is that why when people say even if all the humans on the planet went vegan to stop eating all the mass animals, the same amount of methane gas would be released into the atmosphere at the same rate? Is that true? Am I wrong here? Or
it's like a slightly different source. So the methane hydrates are like frozen underground. So they're the ones that are the most deadly to climate change. Whereas the vegans, from the methane's coming from the cows. But the cows contribute to like 0.2% of global emissions. Yeah. Whereas the solid methane hydrates contribute to like 70%. Don't quote me on the numbers. I do have them written down in my thesis somewhere. But yeah, it's around that. Around that.
Watching this documentary. Sorry, go on, Michael.
Did you have other errors come up when all the snow melted? Because I thought the sun rays were absorbed by the snow in the North Pole, which then stops radiation.
So that was the small bit that it has an impact on. So there's an effect called the albedo effect. So if you think if you've got a car, if you've got a black car or a white car, and you leave it in the sun, when you come back to the black car, it's usually a lot warmer than it is when you get in the white car. And that's because the white reflects the solar radiation or the heat, and it like bounces it off. So the ice caps do contribute to that, and that's as like the running theme that I said for today's sort of. Yeah, it will contribute to like a small percentage, but the rate which the methane gets released has no impact through the albedo effect. The albedo effect is, linking back to the start, is to do with global warming, whereas the methane being released links to climate change. So if you think the solar radiation is bouncing off because of the ice, then the global temperatures will stay more stable. They'll still increase, but they'll be reduced slightly. Whereas climate will change because of atmospheric anoxia, which is contamination of methane.
Right.
And that's exactly why Lucas does what he does, because most people hear that and are just like, right, just in a nutshell, then it doesn't affect it really. It doesn't. There's no real massive effect. The Earth's going to do what it's going to do, whether we were here or not. Is that true, Lucas?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah.
Wanted to shout outs to Truth Seeker. I see you in the comments there. Blessings, peace and love. Yeah, go ahead, Lucas.
Go on. Sorry, Liz.
That's okay. Sorry. I was just going to say the climate has been changing, and it is changing, like you said, constantly. So, climate change, like you said, it is a thing, but not the way it's portrayed to us. And I just feel like the whole agenda around the whole net zero, I just think, how on earth would we actually achieve net zero?
So this is something that
be made with this whole net zero agenda.
This is something that I agree with. I don't think we're ever going to get to net zero, or not anytime soon.
What is net zero? Sorry, guys. What is net zero?
So if you take so for the UK, if the UK was to become net zero, it means that we have no contamination into the atmosphere.
Right.
As an overall process. So we will have some, but we'll also absorb some contamination as well. So it will balance out. So overall, it's like if you had a bank account, if you withdraw money, you'll go into sort of withdrawal funds, you'll go negative. But then if you put money back in, then you'll be zero. So you want to aim to be zero in that.
Right. Okay. So we want to be balanced, right? We want to be putting out as much as we take in.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's net zero. And if we could do that globally, did you say?
If we could do that globally, then well, it's not possible, but we can try.
It isn't possible. We can't even feed everyone on the planet globally yet, let alone sort out the climate. Do you know what I'm saying? Not climate, let alone sort out global warming. You know what I'm saying? So
there is something that I'd like to bring up on this actually, because this is something that I learned recently and I was sort of astounded by. So in the UK alone, I'm sure you've seen, like off the coast or on land, you have those big wind farms. So those massive turbines that spin around in the wind, and they're supposed to be like really good for the environment. Only 15% of manufactured wind farms in the UK are functional. So 85% of wind farms do not work in the UK. And that is, you can look it up, that is like public knowledge, but no one's spoken about it. So
Wait, why discuss it? Because it goes against the whole agenda, right?
So wait. Only 15% are working. So why are the others not working? Just out of curiosity, do you know?
Design flaws, manufacture errors. They're hard to. They've built them because people said they don't look nice. They built them miles off the coast, and they're hard to get to. So when you have a problem, it's quite hard to just take like another big sail to a turbine that's like miles off the coast. It's not because it's not windy.
Now, what was the point of it in the first place then? Like, is it because you didn't arrive on the scene in time, Lucas, to show them your master's dissertation, or was it because like they just thought this has got to be the answer or something? I don't know.
Well, it had like initially it had a good sort of backbone to it. Obviously, people have invested in it because they exist. The whole process behind it is to generate green energy because it's driven by wind. There's a whole argument behind, well, is it really windy? But they're supposed to be like the best renewable energy source we have after solar power, or up there with solar power. But only 15% are working because of manufacture errors, design flaws. Just like the electronics just aren't working.
They're made by carbon fiber and stuff, aren't they? And the second a little bit of it gets damaged, it doesn't spin as well it's meant to, because they go about 450 miles per hour.
Right.
Meant to. Yeah, a few of them have fallen down, but they cost like £3 million each to make. It's like,
what?
Yeah.
So they're spending a lot of money on these investments on wind farms, only to discover that they're not sustainable.
And they don't.
And they don't really do much at all.
Yeah, I mean, when they're working, they're pretty good. But like I said, because they take so much to make, and the slightest imperfection in them slows them down and stops them from generating the proper wind. Energy from the wind.
Shout out to the girl in the corner. I see you on the comments, girl. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, thanks for welcome back. We're back. Go on, Liz.
So surely, like, with what you've discussed and where we are at now in like modern times and society, surely we would have a more specific and like actual working plan with regards to renewable energy, and you know planting more crop and growing more food and just like being better with the land and the animals and things like that. Surely by now we know that what works and what doesn't. I just don't get how we are putting up these big structures that don't properly work, and so much percentage of them work, so much percentage don't. A lot of people are spending thousands and thousands of pounds getting these panels on their roofs, and they don't actually, the percentage of them actually what they're doing for the climate or for their house isn't really that much. It's not really worth them spending all of that money doing it. Why haven't we? Is it all to do with money and conditioning our minds to believe in this scary global warming, or is it that we just are a little bit stupid as a humankind?
I'm not
okay. You ain't got a sense of yourself.
I'm not high enough to know. I was a student. I'm sure there's someone in some high-powered organization that could give you the answers to that. I reckon it's probably a mix of both.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but I know that some of it's not right. It's what we've been told. I mean, in 10 years' time, whatever I've discovered might be disproved. But at the moment, I'm pretty certain it's true.
But that's science in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
Science is always there to be challenged because that's why it's science. But Lucas, if you've got a master's degree in it, obviously you can't just get a tick in the box for doing something that makes no sense. You've had to show data upon data of research and data upon data of results to back what you say. So therefore, what you're saying is solidified fact of what you found out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It just breaks my heart that so many people were. I don't like the word misled, because I don't think we've been misled. I just believe a lot of people that give the news don't know what they're talking about. They just speak, and then people just take it like, right, climate change and global warming, you know, the way it's said makes people feel like it's the same thing, but it's not. Do you get what I mean? Climate change is always, it's inevitable, it's happening. But global warming, you know, that what causes that? Now, I want to ask something, Lucas. Have we had an impact on global warming? Like, and I'm talking about as a species evolving.
Probably not global warming, probably climate change. So links back to the start, they're very separate things, but also very closely linked. For example, building houses, building societies, we've had to destroy climates, destroy ecosystems, cut down rainforests. So yeah, we've definitely had an impact on climate. We've had to, for example, people that will have pets that aren't in their natural habitat. So people that live very extravagant lifestyles will want to, I don't know, take an animal home as a pet, but their home is not necessarily suited for the natural climate and stuff like that. So that's one thing to do with it, but mainly just destruction of ecosystems, environments, stuff like that, just to build society. Yeah, so we've had an impact on climate change, but probably not global warming.
Is global warming inevitable? Was that going to happen whether we were here or not?
Yeah, there's been cycles. So there's, I won't bore you with all the factors that go into it, but there are cycles of.
I want to hear it.
There's loads of things to do with orbital speeds, orbital radius. They're called Milankovitch cycles, and you've also got like atmospheric conditions. There's loads of different factors that go into it, but there are natural cycles, natural peaks, natural troughs between global temperatures, and there's fluctuations in it. We were once just a molten ball. We've had mass volcanism in the Siberian traps, the Deccan traps that's killed off the dinosaurs, meteorite impacts. But then we've also done the complete opposite, and we've had like 3 ice ages, mass flooding. So yeah, like these things are naturally occurring. It's hard to say if we've contributed to it, sort of a transition at the moment, whether it was natural. I mean, these transition periods last hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of years. So
why has Greta Thunberg got her knickers in a twist?
Because she gets publicity. Everyone knows who she is. She's probably the most famous, like 15-year-old globally.
What's she yapping about then? If we don't have any impact, you know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. You get these generations of people following this person who's screaming from the rooftops that the government need to do something about it, but the governments or the banks need to do. You know what I mean? The banks are like, "What's she going on about?"
I actually started.
How has she gained so much momentum, and what is this? Can you explain anything, Lucas?
I mean, I can't explain much about it, but I actually started my presentation for my master's. So my final presentation, I actually started with a quote from Greta Thunberg. So that was my opening slide, and it was to do, you know, the one where it's, you've ruined my childhood. That one. I started with that just to get people to think. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with Greta Thunberg, but whenever she comes up to produce, like to do a speech or whatever, she never brings any facts or figures. And to me, the numbers support your claims. You can't make a claim without any evidence. And if she's not bringing the numbers, then why? Obviously, there is evidence to support some of her claims, but not all of them. But she never brings any facts or figures to support her claims, but people tend to follow her.
Shout outs to Shantae and Truth Seeker on the comments. I see you, ladies. Good to see you. Keep commenting. It's fine. I see you. Yeah, Lucas, I think you should just go against her. Let's do it. Let's rally up. Let's start our own thing and be like, let's just shut this bitch down, because she's spreading messages that's just bullshit. It's not real. It's not, you know, what you're getting a lot of people rallied up over something they shouldn't be getting rallied up about, when we've highlighted that we as human beings on this earth, regardless of what we're doing, other than existing and evolving, we're not having that much a bigger impact on the global warming and climate change. Yes, to a degree, we are disrupting ecosystems. We can be better at that. That I totally agree. We should be better at that. We and I say we, I'm sort of like tarring us all with the same brush. We're not the ones out there burning rainforests. Do you know what I mean? But we should be the ones fighting it. You know, making the ones that are doing it aware that we're not having it. You know, but there's only one way to do that, and that's not to buy what they're selling. If that makes sense, you can't physically go up to them and assault them. You'll be killed. Right? Because everyone's got a loud mouth, always gets killed. Kanye West, gone. Tupac Shakur, gone. Princess Diana, gone. If you talk too loud, you're gone. So we know that we're up against some real, you know, dangerous people. But if they're still continuing to, you know, do their agenda for one reason and one reason only, to maintain control and power and money, then the only way to defeat them is to stop buying what they're selling, in a nutshell. It's the only way.
I think as well, it's just to not take everything that you've been told. Now, there's not all doom and gloom. There are people, maybe it's for financial benefit, maybe it's for environmental benefit, maybe for both. There are things that are in place to try, and new technology to try and counteract global warming and atmospheric contamination. They haven't been like tested, or they're in testing, so they haven't been mass produced yet. So these people are trying to better what the situation we're in, but just evaluate what you're being told more. Wouldn't say shoot them down straight away. Just take it in, process it, try and critically analyze it for the positives and the negatives, a non-biased perspective, and then make your own judgment on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
One
so
thing.
When are you gonna start going for Greta Thunberg, Lucas? Come on. Yeah, our banners ready.
The other side and the male, like, yeah, come on.
They'll love it, Lucas. They'll have a field day with you and Greta Thunberg. You're like 6'3", she's like 5'3". Just stomp on the bitch. Be like, go at her with your facts, Lucas. It'd be like, bitch, these are the facts. Where's your facts? And she'd just be like, whatever. I've got millions of followers. Be like, yeah, but your followers don't have facts. So you have to do it, mate. You have to do it. You have to go against them, man. Show her.
Howl at you.
Right, here we go. Funny one. Comments here. You got your view and opinions and beliefs got right. So your views, but we being accountable for stuff governments and wars caused, and it changes as impacts our lives. Yeah, that's a lot, to be fair. But it's true. We are impacted by it. Simply putting climate change and global warming in the same sentence can confuse people into thinking it's the same thing. Now, that's just because most people don't know what it is. They don't know the difference. Climate change is happening. You have this winter season, the summer season. That's climate change. You know what I mean? That's what that is. But global warming is happening because it happens, but not because of some of the reasons you've been told, like methane gas from all of this livestock, and you know what else was there? Polar ice caps melting is going to cause a massive disrupt in the. It won't. Because the gases which Lucas has done his masters on, methane hydrates, they don't release any faster or any slower. So if all the ice melted, it would still go at the same rate as, you know what I mean? But again, people don't know it. People don't think it. And I'm people. By the way, I'm not going to sit from a sanctimonious place and be like, you know what I mean? I'm people. People's me. We're people. But yeah, go on, Liz. I thought you were going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, you know, we've got these organizations, you know, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, all these media outlets telling us that we should be more conscious about when we how many times we drive our car in a week, you know, and how far we travel to, and you know, traveling abroad and going on planes. Do we really need holidays? Do we really need certain things in our house, you know? And it's the whole fear mongering again, because like Lucas said, they use certain words when they're talking about global warming or referring to climate change, and that's where the confusion is caused for people, and they can't differentiate between the two. And the reason they can't differentiate between the two, because it all sounds the same, and it's all scary, dangerous. Oh, in 10 years' time, we won't be able to have this. In 10 years' time, we'll lose this species. In 10 years' time, we won't have these rainforests, or, you know, you won't be able to do this, and there won't be any of this left. And you know, if everybody didn't eat meat, then, you know, if we got rid of the cows, there'd be no meat. It's like, how come we've survived all this time?
Come on, Liz.
Up until now,
Yeah.
with, you know, cattle, with, you know, farms. Farming is like the most natural, normal way of life. Without farms and farming, there is no humanity. So, like, and I'm not, I don't eat meat, and I don't choose to be like that because of anything to do with global warming or climate change. It's because I choose not to eat meat and I love animals, and that is just purely it. It was never ever anything environmental, because in my head, that's just, I don't have enough knowledge to even contemplate that.
So we got a comment from Blank Monge, and Blank Monge, I did see your comment before about is Kanye dead? Yeah, he's dead. That they took it. He ain't a real Kanye. You know what I'm talking about. But this next comment from you, industrial scale farming literally isn't natural. It's hard to say that. And I'll tell you what. I read this book called Sapiens. You'll love it, by Yuval Noah Harari. He's a historian. And he actually talks about our evolution and how it became industrial scale farming just through a natural process of our evolution as humans. So I highly recommend this for you, because honestly, it's more than just farming. This is literally a brief history of humankind. It's a banging book. It's a great book. And if you don't want to read it, you can actually, I think you can like get the YouTube now, where they've got like actual videos of it, like, you know, a good animation version. So yeah, Sapiens. Yeah, sick book. You'll like it.
Yeah, talking about farming, they're looking at doing tower farming soon. So instead of like big fields, they're going to build big towers, mostly controlled by robots and AI. So less area. Yeah, so it's less area, less people working it. So it can produce a lot more food for a lot less space.
Yeah, what you're talking about, Michael, is hydroponic farming, isn't it? So they have pump systems, and they build the crops vertically, so you can have, like, instead of a land mass of like, say, 100 meters squared by 100 meters squared, that's not a great deal of land, 100 acres squared by 100 acres squared of cornfields, you could potentially just have 100 meters tall building, getting more corn vertically. Pretty clever. I like that, Michael. Well said. So that will also probably stop the infestation of you know, like rodents and that, you know. But then back to what Lucas said, would that disrupt, Lucas, the ecosystem?
Oh, I don't know enough on that. Maybe, but probably not if it's industrial. I mean, they're going to build that industrial farm anyway, so you might as well save surface area and build upwards. It's like a multi-story car park. Instead of building a car park that's flat, add 4 stories. You can have more cars in it.
Yeah, or a row of tomatoes, a row of cabbages, a row of corn, a row of potatoes. You know, they could literally build car park style crop farms vertically. It's genius, and I'm all for it, because it would definitely create more land mass to do other things. You know, we're evolving, and I suppose it's really frustrating sometimes when I come up against someone who's all about keeping things the same, don't want change. Breaks my heart, because I'm like, you do realize if we kept the same, we wouldn't be wearing these type of vests. I wouldn't have this bookshelf behind me. We wouldn't have this computer that we're communicating with now, and that mobile phone that you're able to do your comments on, or, you know what I mean? You got to see this. You got to understand this. It's
we wouldn't evolve.
Right. Exactly. So,
and Elon's trying to push his solar farms. So he said that there's an area of, like, I don't know how big it is, but he said if he does this solar farm, it can literally, most of America will be powered just by this solar plant. But he just keeps getting pushed back for it. So he's trying to do stuff. It's just people don't want him to do it, because then they won't make as much money.
Yeah. Do you know what I love about Elon Musk? Yeah, is that he's doing something that investors want him to do. Yeah. So they won't kill him off, or he can't be bought. Do you understand what I'm saying? I thought about this. I literally thought about this in the shower earlier. Mark Zuckerberg, how has Facebook become what it's become? All Facebook is a commodity of people. People are a commodity. It's data. It's exposure. That's why they can rig the elections. That's what. Because so basically, Mark Zuckerberg can be bought because all he is the owner of is just a big phone book. Yeah, a big database. Whereas Elon Musk is different. Elon Musk and his company and all of the people involved in it, they are building for the future. So these investors don't want to, they can't shut him up. They can't buy him because they need him to, in essence, make them more money. Do you get what I mean? And that's why I love Elon Musk. He can't be bought. Whereas, you know, people like Zuckerberg's and it's dangerous. That's dangerous. You know what I mean?
I'm still a little bit skeptical about Elon, but I do think some of the things he's done have been good, like the things he's been doing and how he's spoken up about freedom of speech, and you know how he spoke up about how he had the vaccines and he was injured by them and that it's not right, that we weren't told, you know, the truth around that.
He's people.
He does speak up and he does.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still a little bit skeptical because, you know, I'm a bit funny about the whole AI and chips in your brain and stuff. And he's really all about that. So I'm like, oof. Do
you think that he believed the bullshit that we all fell for with global warming, and he just felt this urge to make electric cars? Like he was like, right, someone's got to do something about this. I'm going to do it. And then he just went on a mad one, made all these electric cars because he fell for the same bullshit we did.
Yeah, but then electric cars aren't, because one electric car takes 10 years to then zero out, because the amount of waste it produces just to get it to your car park is so much higher than just a normal car. And it takes literally 10 years of you driving to equal out the balance of it. So you have to have the car for 10 years before you would so before the petrol one would then be more bad for the environment. 10 years. Who keeps a car for 10 years?
Yeah.
There is I'm glad we brought up the cars because there's a company, I'm sure you've all heard of it, Porsche. They have created and it tested and worked, and you can actually buy it now. They've designed and developed a fuel. It's called refined fuel. So it can work in any car, petrol, diesel, the car on your drive now. You just pump it in and it can run normally. And it has 0 emissions. However, at the moment it costs like £8 per litre.
I think I've watched a YouTube video on this. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I saw that. Yes, Lucas. Nice one for remembering that. Yeah, man. What, £8 a litre?
What's it called, Lucas?
It's just they've just labelled it. Porsche made it. Just type in Porsche refined fuel and it should come up.
So if they're so concerned about net zero and all of this and doing so much for the climate, why would they make something that is supposedly better for the environment when we're using our vehicles? Why would they make it so expensive and not as accessible for the majority?
Because it's a new technology.
Yeah, it's been discovered like a month ago, I think. So obviously the demand is very high, but the supply is not very high, which drives the price up.
Yeah.
So as supply increases, then the price should come down. And as they develop and they find faster ways, cheaper ways, more efficient ways to refine the fuel, it will bring the price down.
Yeah.
So give it a couple of years.
My laptop at the moment.
Got to shout out some of our viewers right now. So guys, are we all fully understanding what we're talking about tonight? How climate change and global warming are two different things, and also how our effect on them as humans is very minimal in the grand scheme of things. Like we don't actually have that much bigger impact on it at all. Like no matter what we do, the way we're evolving, it doesn't change a thing. It's happening. You know what I mean? Are you all cool with that? Put in the comments if you are. I'd love to hear what you guys think or know about it as well, because in all essence of this conversation, we've been missold. We've been missold shit. We've been told stuff that just isn't true, right? We've got Lucas here, has done a master's degree in geophysics, specifically on methane hydrates, which is the release of the gases from underground. Lucas, is that correct?
Yeah.
And the effect it has on the planet or different climates around the globe. And therefore, if you're going to ask anyone, ask him. He's right here, right now. So if you've got any questions, feel free to put in the comments whilst we're going to be on for another like 10, 15 minutes. So now's your time. Go ahead and do that. And if you're watching this back on the YouTube, then put it in the comments and we'll get back to you anyway. It's not a problem. Obviously, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You know what to do. You know how to do it. And if you're just tuning in, it's the Elite Thinking Club over on YouTube or Apple Podcast or Spotify. And yeah, tune in to us. We're always talking. Always critical thinking. Yeah, boy.
And that little bit at the end. So Lucas, prior to you learning and doing the research that you did and what you chose to do, were you of a different opinion?
Yeah.
What you've been led to believe?
Yeah, because I thought, well, before I did the research, before I looked at the results, I had my hypotheses and thought, oh yeah, this will probably change this. And I wanted the results to look good. So I didn't want, in my thesis, I wanted to say, oh, this has a big impact on this. So I investigated these things that I initially thought would have a big impact on global warming or climate change. And I did that on purpose so that my thesis looked good. Because it's easier to analyze and write a thesis about results that show something than results that don't show something. And then the results didn't show something. So that's why, so I was completely changed my opinion and thoughts on it. And when I went to my supervisor that was helping me with my thesis, like guiding me. And I said, the results don't show anything. She said, well, write about that. You can't force results. So it's all good science, even if it doesn't show anything. So that's how I sort of ended up where I am now. But I thought the same until maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And then, yeah.
That's really good that she allowed you to, she said, and she gave you the sort of scope to go and write about it instead of shutting you down and saying, well, you can't put that in there. You have to say that it's this. Do you know what I mean? At least
Yeah.
you actually say these are my findings. This is what I believe because of my findings. The facts are here. This is it. This is what I've found. So
yeah, no, it was nice. And like when you're doing a research project, they want to encourage good science. So that's what you get marked on, basically. It's not whether you discover anything new. And by writing good science, you get rewarded. So when I did my final assessment was a presentation on this, and I was presenting to like 100 people with like a mixture of professors, ordinary people, like other students, and I just spoke honestly, which with some of them, because I had a lot of people come and speak to me after. So when I explained how the model worked, like my progress to make the model, and then I got to the results, I said to them, oh, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like, it's not as interesting as it might seem. The results don't show anything. I said, these are the graphs. You can see there's like no changes in the graphs. The numbers haven't changed, or very little changes that are not significant. So this whole the common knowledge that's been pushed is not necessarily true. And then I had to come up with my own sort of reasons why that is. So there's two main options: either my model's wrong and the numbers are wrong, or there's something wrong with the media. And if you look, I initially thought that my model was actually wrong, because it's a lot more believable to say that some 21-year-old that's doing his master's is wrong than saying that the whole media is wrong. But then you look into media articles and they contradict each other. The BBC, I'm sure you've seen, I think I mentioned this last time as well that I was on here. The BBC will say by 2050 we have 5 degrees global temperature rise. I'm sure you've seen those graphs, and it'd be like, we could get to this point, but we could also get to this point where it's not as bad. And it's up to you to make that difference. Well, if you look into their model, they left out like half the things that contribute to global warming. So yeah, that was not accurate. And that's what actually drove me to end up doing this research. So I did my dissertation, which I had a list of 20 topics to pick from. Ended up picking one on critical analysis of climate change. Then found this model from the BBC, realized they left loads of stuff out, and then said to my supervisor, which was the same one, and said, look, I'm on to do a master's and a research project. I've noticed this isn't right, and the BBC are like producing it in the media and stuff, and everything, I said, is it possible that I could do a research project on this and maybe create a model? And she went, yeah, go for it. So that's how I sort of fell into what I was doing now. It was sort of, I discovered it from doing a critical analysis of what was already out there.
Brilliant.
Well, I'm very, very glad that you did, Lucas, because, you know, some people would be keeping low, avoiding capture if they discovered what you discovered, or calling out people like the BBC. You know what I mean? But you shouldn't be afraid to. It's because most, you know, what you've done, you're right, David and Goliath. How are you going to speak your truth loud enough to influence the curve, right? The influence curve, the 3%. You get 3% people believe in anything. It has an impact on the majority. That's all it takes. 3% of people to think something, and the rest of society's minds go with that. Now, if society is saying, "Oh, you know, we need to get our solar panels up, get our wind farms up, getting all this nonsense," which you now made me believe it's now nonsense to do, society's believing it. Then, like you said, along comes Lucas, 21 years old. He's talking to these professors, and he's literally saying, "I've found something. I've found something." You know what I mean? I found something. And they're going to be like, "What you found?" Well, everything that you thought was everything that you think, it ain't true. And everyone's going to be like, "Ah, can't be true. It can't be true. You can't be right." That's like that lady that debunked dinosaurs. Do you remember that lady that debunked dinosaurs?
No.
So, okay, so for years and years, everyone always believes that dinosaurs came, they were here, they were living, they were this, and this, sort of like reptilian creatures and all this and that. Some lady done some experiment and research and discovered that they have more close relation to birds, like chickens, than anything. They're just birds. And these bones that they're finding aren't full skeletons either. They make them up. So they piece it together. They find what they find, the fossils, and then they piece together the bits to make it seem like that's what it was. Because they couldn't truly know what the scales looked like. They couldn't truly know what the skin color was. They don't know. There was no way of knowing. No way. And that's it.
I've never heard that story, so that's new to me today. I've learned something new.
We'll look that up too. That's what I'm saying. The curve of influence is so good. Jurassic Park, because it's a major movie, mainstream movie, Hollywood, right? Let's get this flipping ball rolling. Let's sell some tickets. Let's make people believe that this happened and this was the way it was and this is what they are. Then some lady comes along and she's like, "No, well, that's not what it was. They were chickens. They were just giant chickens, giant birds. All of them, giant birds." Obviously, you can't say that, "No, that's not true." Yes, we have birds of prey. You know what I mean? We've still got birds of prey. It ain't like all of them were just like birds that eat seeds and fruits and veg. You know what I'm saying? Look into it. Look into it. You don't have to believe me, but this is why I love the Elite Thinking Club. It is all about critical thinking. That is why we do what we do, the critical thinking. So now you can go away and look into global warming, look into climate change, or you can just follow Lucas. Let him do it, because that's what he's done for the last however many years, Lucas. And well done, by the way. You've got your masters. Happy days. I look forward to the future for you. And also look into that lady that debunked dinosaurs if you want.
Yeah.
You got some comments on your TikTok about that?
Comments on the TikTok. Oh, that's my boy Blank Monge. He's back again. What's he saying? There are lots of full skeletons found. Coloration and the like is interpretation, but skin fragments have been found too. Skin fragments, feathers, full skeletons all exist. Okay. Well, there you go. There we are. The polarity. The polarity. It's there or it's there. It's there. Who are you going to go with? I'll tell you what, go and have a look for yourself, everyone, everywhere. You got Blank Mons there, and you got my boy Chris Jules Julien, and you know what I'm saying? You got to do it. And also, Porsche have got some refined fuel for you to look into as well. That sounds really interesting. I would like to see where that goes. And again, back to what we were talking about, banks and investments and investors. If the shit is real, that's the way we're going. That's the way we're going. If it makes money, that's the way we're going. That's how you always got a view. That's how I've kind of made sense of, made peace with why we're evolving the way we evolve. And there is no stopping it. There is no stopping it. So
we should really be following the science and not following the money. But when you follow the money, you realize.
Yeah, because the money backs the science, Liz.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, but then it also means we're not going to be using this fuel anytime soon, because all of the fuel they've already got, they want to sell before we start going on to the new one.
Oh yeah. So all the existing fuel, yeah. They got
That's why it's probably high as well. Why the price is high, so people still get rid of what we've already got. Yeah.
Well, there's some cooling fluid for PCs that is really good, but it's expensive, so not a lot of people use it. So the same thing. If more people bought it, it'd go cheaper.
Yeah.
It's like that guy that made a hair removal cream. Then like Wilkinson Sword and Gillette all got together and just like paid him to not release it. And they pay him yearly. They pay him every year to just not release this hair removal cream because otherwise they'll be out of business. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot that goes on in the court of the elites, no doubt. And us peasants just kind of have to just yes, my lord. Nah, fuck that. Not yes, my lord.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got. You can only be what you can in this world, and I suppose you're supposed to have fun with it as well. Have fun with it. That's what you got to have fun with. So if you like what we've talked about tonight here at the Elite Thinking Club, you know what to do. You know how to do it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, support the channel. We will be doing future episodes. And if you want to, go ahead and check out some of our older episodes as well. Previous one we done was AI technology and how it's creating a disconnect of human connection and how it also is replacing men's need for women. And I'm not going to say any more, but that is a really interesting episode. It's a double episode with Nick Shackleton-Jones and the philosopher. And yeah, if you're a bit spiritual, you can check out some of the episodes on spirituality as well. Got a good couple guests on that. If you're
also, our merch is running out, so you better get it soon. EliteThinking.club.
Yeah, it's true. Get our merch, EliteThinking.club. You can support the channel that way too, if you so wish. You can wear us and drink from the same
on your next day.
But anyway, I really want to say thank you, Lucas, for showing up tonight and you know, sharing with us what you've discovered. And rightly so. You know, you deserve the platforms to speak what you found, because I believe, my friend, you are the David right now, and you're up against the Goliath. You've got to convince 3% of people to accept what you found before it influences the societies. You know what I'm saying? You up for it?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Yeah, man.
Do it, Lucas. You can.
Yeah, man. Grab Greta Thunberg by the throat and choke slam that bitch.
No,
that's
we
what
do
you got.
not promote violence. We do not promote that.
No, I'm joking.
Called it.
I'm joking. I meant it metaphorically, Liz. I meant it metaphorically.
I know.
With your words.
With your words. Cool. Liz, Michael, Lucas, is there anything that you guys want to say before we say goodbye tonight?
Follow the science.
Follow the science. Michael?
Go to EliteThinking.club.
Go to EliteThinking.club. Lucas, is there anything that you want to leave us with before you go?
Think for yourself.
Yeah.
Nice. Think for yourself. Right. Well, thank you everyone everywhere for tuning in. And, you know, as always, we love you very, very much. So that is the end of the episode. Climate change, global warming in summary. Thank you so much for being here. From me, Liz, Michael, and Lucas, everyone everywhere. Peace and love.